Facebook Connect 2021 was, in my opinion, a bit disappointing. I will summarize the event under 1 minute and then spend some time on some juicy insights from the keynotes and feedback from John Carmack. Facebook Connect 2021 really was a recruiting event to get developers excited instead of consumers to work on realizing the future vision of Mark Zuckerberg on the Metaverse. Just like how Elon Musk is attracting talent with his Tesla bot. There was no new hardware release, but 2 new projects announced. Project Cambria, which sounds awfully a lot like Project Cambridge Analytica, a new high-end headset with mixed reality capability. High-resolution colored pass-through, inside eye tracking and pancake lenses with a smaller form factor. And Project Nazare, the codename for the AR headset with no specific details revealed except a small teaser. There were 2 new game announcements which included GTA San Andreas in VR, an update on Project Aria where they are training AI based on where the user is looking at, for example for turning on the lamps or the TV just by looking at it, and mentioning of the codec avatars and what progress they are making here. The name change to Meta is brilliant, and the biggest announcement was definitely not needing your Facebook account to use the other services. Alright, now on to the juicy stuff. First of all, John was really happy with the progress the team is making and how the Quest 2 was able to push the needle in the VR industry, with exciting releases like AirLink and AppLab. What he mentioned was that there's a lot of internal pushback from the team, ranging from unlocking root access of Oculus Go to releasing 120 frames per second on the Oculus Quest and thermal limiting. He mentioned that the speed of web browsing on the Oculus Quest 2 is already limited by 50% just by the pushback from the internal product team to keep the temperature really low. His conclusion is that they're overly conservative here. Cloud rendering is actually talked about a lot, but John is giving some slight pushback here, since it will be very difficult on the technical level due to latency issues. So one of the things he actually mentioned that if you choose for the cloud rendering, you cut off half of the user base because they don't have high-speed Wi-Fi. So one of the things he actually mentioned is that you could actually locally render some information like the UI or your own avatar and hands, but that you could actually use cloud rendering for other avatars and other assets. However, this could be a very difficult problem to solve. Another interesting note was questioning the focus on the social aspect. Many luxuries are the lack of other people. Think about private offices, a private beach, or even a private flame. The question is, what do users really want? This also ties in with another point, with the release of AppLab, giving the people more freedom to create apps for VR. This starts the discussion on filtering the type of content to be on the platform. An important data point is that Gorilla Tag is more popular than games created by the internal studios. Labs VR user. John is annoyed by the fact that there are a lot of people that are not using their Quest on a daily basis. He's comparing it with mobile phones. There's not a single person not using his phone on a daily basis. In order to get VR or AR to being the next computing platform or replacement of screens and phones, it needs to be used more frequently. If the Quest 2 would be free, there would still be people that are not actually using the headset. And he wonders whether this can be fixed with hardware improvements versus software improvements. A test for this will be the release of Resident Evil 4 in VR and the new high-end headset. The release of Resident Evil 4 will test if Labs users will return and check out other software or improvements in the ecosystem. And the new headset will test whether the value of eye and facial tracking will offer so much new value that users will use it more. Reactively acting on problems, like for example VR addiction. I find this point a bit concerning. John mentions that they should try to fix problems as they occur instead of trying to prevent them, mentioning that there are a lot of unknowns and that it's impossible to predict the future. I really do disagree with this, since Facebook was the master of creating an addicting platform. If they want to, they can design VR or AR to be addicting as hell, and saying that they want to fix it after the problem is known seems like an enormous problem Facebook has run into for the past years. The lack of camera data. John mentioned that if they could collect camera data from users, they would be able to improve hand tracking in a significant way. Mentioning that by having huge amounts of data about arm position, they could predict what the hand position and movements would be. I find it comforting that Meta is not able to access camera data of users, and this would be a huge problem if it was. What do you guys think? The event was not in VR. John was disappointed that the event was not in VR. I agree. I find it a bit disappointing that Facebook has all these massive visions and dreams of the Metaverse, and this event is on video only. When listening to John's video and his Q&A, it becomes apparent why they're not able to do this. They are restricted on performance issues with VR and the amount of users they are able to add to a session. One person asked if it was possible to have a user express custom effects from his avatar, for example. Adding this complexity to avatars would restrict the amount of avatars present at the session. At Meta, they need to make choices on what possibilities or value this adds to the user, because it drains the performance budget and further restricts the possibilities. The amount of persons present in the Q&A was 60 people. This was already very low. In my opinion, the session from John was a lot more valuable and gave a lot more insights than the presentation from Mark Zuckerberg. It really showed the technical issues they're running into and what the current problems are. Meta is actually actively trying to pursue the Metaverse. This will completely change the way in how people will interact with each other in the future. If you want to learn why they are pursuing this dream, check out this video next.